it's possible that most American citizens will think that the UFO phenomenon is an exclusive American issue, right? After all, the modern era of UFOs started in 1947 with the sighting of Kenneth Arnold over Mount Rainier, you know, of these chevron-like objects that were then, thanks to the originality of a certain journalist, were nicknamed flying saucers. And then you have Roswell, which is, to this day, the most famous UFO case in the world. So maybe it's because of this that American people dismiss or don't even think about the idea that the UFO phenomenon is actually global in scope. And also they might think that UFOs are not taken seriously on an official level because of the Air Force decision to close Project Blue Book in 1969 after following the recommendation of the Condon Report held by the University of Colorado. But they will be surprised to understand that in fact there are some countries that take to this day UFOs very, very seriously. One example is France, which to this day is still investigating UFOs on an official capacity, and they have this official UFO investigations office has an agreement with several other official agencies like the French Gendarmerie. That's how they get to have first-rate UFO sightings. Also, we could point out to countries in Latin America closer to home, like, for example, Chile, who has an UFO office that is adjoined to the, I think, to the Civil Aviation Office, and its acronym is CFA. Leslie King, who is a famous American ufologist, has close ties to this agency. And also, I think it was last year that Peru reopened their UFO offices that is adjoined to their Peruvian Air Force. And this was because of the increase in UFO sightings, which prompted the government to realize that they needed to take back the matter seriously. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that the United States is getting behind with their stubbornness to not taking the matter seriously. And I fear that if they continue to ascertain or to follow this policy, it will be to their detriment, both as leaders of the free world and as an important influence in geopolitical matters. I started to be interested in this subject of UFOs at a very early age, you know. After all, I'm a children of the 80s, so I watched the movies by Steven Spielberg, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T., Cocoon, and because of this, I guess I grew up while having a very strong idea of what UFOs were, and that is extraterrestrial vehicles, right? The so-called extraterrestrial hypothesis. But to be honest, as the years have progressed, I happen to become more distant of the extraterrestrial hypothesis, and I have been forced to start considering other theories or interpretations to explain the UFO phenomenon, because the extraterrestrial hypothesis, as valid as it still may be, it's not really big enough to understand the whole spectrum of the phenomenon, as Jacques Vallée pointed out in his seminal book Passport to Magonia, and other researchers like Junkie in Operation Trojan Horse. So I've grown to realize that one of the key aspects that ufologists have left out because they're so interested in issues like disclosure or learning what's happening inside Area 51, or maybe trying to understand the propulsion systems of these spaceships. I think the thing they have left out is the subject of human consciousness. And I've grown to believe that human consciousness not only is key to understand the UFO phenomenon, but it also may be like the Fortean missing link that joins the UFO phenomenon with other paranormal phenomena that we just don't understand yet. So like, for example, ghosts and psi phenomena like telekinesis, remote viewing, telepathy, precognition. Maybe by putting our effort in understanding the big mystery of human consciousness, which for me it is like the fundamental question that modern science has to answer, we might just find out really what UFOs are, at what they mean for us, and more important perhaps, who we are, and what's our role and our place in the universe.